Okay, it's now 35 minutes after 8 p.m. Welcome back. Time for the final segment. No, it's not hashtag Men Can Cook, unfortunately, but inshallah, next week we shall have Men Can Cook. If you've just tuned in, welcome to the show. I'm your host, Faraz Takolia. We've got about 25 more minutes to go. Wow, how the time has gone by when you're having fun. It's been a jam-packed show so far, alhamdulillah. Now, tonight I'm talking to Mark Roville from a company called IDSO, and a South African company, which has won top award for 3D printed respirator that obviously protects medics. And they took top honors in the industrial and life science design safety design category for powered air purifying respirator, which is known as a PAPR. Now, I'm not going to get all techno gizmo just yet. I'll leave that to the design director at IDSO, Mark himself. Now, the PAPR is a form of personal protective equipment used to safeguard healthcare professionals in contact with COVID-19 and TB patients. Now, to talk to us more, we welcome the man wearing a hat and the glasses who took the awards at the prestigious International Design Awards in the United States, a design director at IDSO, Mr. Mark Roville. Mark, good evening.
Hi, Faraz. Yes, well, and I must say your introduction was better than I could have done, I think.
Oh, well, thank you for that. I appreciate the compliment there. Hats off to you, man, and your company and your group for obviously taking top honors, representing South Africa. At least something positive. We can fly the flag high in the United States. How do you feel, man? First things first, before we get into who you are and what IDSO does, how was it feeling, obviously, winning that award?
Yeah, no, it feels great. We don't really, one doesn't enter awards in order to, well, I suppose you'd like to win it, but that's not really what we're all about. We're about designing good products or great products. And in this case, also trying to save people's lives and save people's livelihoods.
Now, this is not the first time that obviously you're in the limelight. I remember in 2014, obviously you were recognized, obviously, for the originality of something that you created on the most creative stand. That was at the Design in Durban, if I remember correctly. There was an expo that took place with an exhibition.
Right,
so well done.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So obviously,
yeah,
I mean,
Well,
7 or 8 years.
You've clearly done your homework. Yeah, I suppose over the years we've won a few awards. We won a Red Dot award for it was a home trainer. That was back in 2012. It was a self project, pretty much like the Papa, a project that we did to ourselves. And that specific one was a home trainer, that you could put your bicycle on and actually generate electricity and store it, which was pretty unique at the time. We were recognized then for by winning a Red Dot Award, which was a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Actually last year, I mean, it shows you the kind of variety of work that we do. Because last year in 2019, we won it was also 2020. We won a European Design Award for a shopping trolley, for a liquor trolley.
Okay.
If you go to the Tops stores,
yes, I saw that video. Tops at Spa, they were loving that new liquor trolley. I was watching that video.
Yes. They had a field day with it. They put out some really funny videos. In the background, we actually thought, well, this is unique. People would see a shopping trolley as just another shopping trolley.
They call it a supercart, if I'm not mistaken.
It's made by Supercart. That's correct. That's the client. Yes,
now,
that's right.
Mark, now you're a design director experience and innovation. And talk to us about yourself and a bit about who you are exactly. For those who haven't heard of you and your company IDSO, that you obviously the design director of, and in your capacity there, where did all of this begin for you?
That's a long story. How long have we got?
Well, take your time.
Okay. All right. Well, me personally, I studied engineering initially. This is way back, before most of the people that work for me were born, I think, by now. Basically, you end up studying engineering if you at school if you're good at maths and science, and then if you go and do engineering. I finished the course, but I knew during that time that it wasn't really what I wanted to do. And so while I was doing engineering, found out about this thing called industrial design, which for me has always been a little bit of a misnomer, because industrial sounds like you're designing factories and things.
Yes, machinery, etc. Right. Diesel engines and all of that personas. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So, but industrial design is really about designing and creating products specifically for mass manufacture. So it's not your arts and crafts scene. It's not a furniture maker. But it's pretty much everything that gets mass produced that you can buy, be it a medical device, be it a shopping trolley. One of our largest customers is Addis. All the food boxes and mops and buckets and you name it. When people ask me at a party, what do you do? And then I say I'm an industrial designer. I typically get a bit of a blank stare. And then I say, I look around and I go, well, I designed that. And, so I'm pretty confident that most people own something that IDSO has designed in their house. It's pretty intriguing.
Now, obviously, Mark, now you're having won this prestigious award, taking the top honors for the powered air purifying respirator. Now, in my understanding, obviously, a powered air purifying respirator is a type of respirator that's used to safeguard workers on the front lines against contaminated air, if I'm not mistaken. Am I correct in saying
that's correct? Yes.
And obviously, these peppers, as they consist of headgear and a fan. I've seen some with like a fan and like a gas mask thing. It kind of, reminds me of what, World War II kind of things. I played a lot of Call of Duty, I guess. But anyway, and the assembly that takes ambient air contaminated with more or basically a pollutant or a pathogen and removes sufficient proportion of these hazards. They've obviously got a higher protection factor, I'd say, against, in comparison to your KN95 masks, if I'm not mistaken.
That's
for
right.
Those who aren't aware about, obviously, the PAPRs and the powered air purifying respirators, in South Africa, the demand for this, where is it mainly found? And, your company obviously won the award for, obviously, this particular design. In South Africa, where do we stand in terms of this PAPR, etc.?
Yeah. Okay. That's a lot of questions in one. I've actually got one with me. So I could briefly demonstrate it first of all,
sure,
or do you want to do that later?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
So I'm trying to see. I don't know whether you can see a wider screen than what I can see. Okay, there. All right. So that is the headpiece.
Okay.
I'm gonna put it on.
Okay.
And then can you still hear me clearly?
Yes, loud and clear.
All right. Okay, then we've got an air pipe. I'm not going to, I'm going to plug myself in.
Okay.
And then we've got a filter unit.
Okay.
So I'm moving in the wrong direction. So you see the two P2 filters.
All right.
I'm just going to put that on the desk in front of me here. So now we've got...
now you can hear the fan.
I'm trying to hold it that the camera can see.
That's perfect view. Lovely.
So yes, normally this would be sitting on your back, this part, obviously pointing away from a patient who may be contaminated. So you're sucking in already relatively, hopefully relatively uncontaminated air.
Contaminated air, yeah.
Yes. And then these are P2 filters, which are good enough for diseases like COVID, for instance. For TB, it's actually best to go up another step, although we have a laboratory that uses them just like this. So yes, this filters out, I don't know the exact, I can't recall the exact amount, but it's something like 99.5% of all particles that are smaller than or larger than zero 0.3 of a micron.
Okay.
And then basically it blows in 115 liters of purified air into the mask, into the face area. Now this is a close fitting PAPR. I haven't set it up perfectly for myself, but it fits quite close around the face. You get ones that are complete hoods as well. And basically what you're doing is you are creating a positive airflow around your face. You're only breathing in the
So this
purified
is
air.
something that's similar to what they use in a hazmat suit kind of thing, basically, when they're going into like anthrax environments and things like that. Would they use this type of equipment?
Yes, you could say so. But what we're finding with the whole pandemic that we've had, we've typically sold them to doctors that are intubating potentially. Yes, doctors, physiotherapists, some nurses. It's typically a little bit too pricey for a nurse. Unfortunately, I wish we could make it less expensive. And interestingly enough, a lot of dentists. And the dentist is an interesting case because the dentists, of course, are working in the patient's mouth. The patient, if he's certified that he's COVID positive, they wouldn't work on him. But you don't know, or they don't know. And of course, there are a lot of what do they call it? Aerosol. So there's a lot of air that comes back at the dentist. So this actually works very well for them.
Now, obviously, I want to quote some of the judges at the International Design Award saying that IDESO, the PAPR, has obviously answered an urgent need. Obviously, now we know we're obviously in the COVID and the pandemic that's facing us right now. Now, the 3D print inspiration behind this whole thing here, what made you guys stand out from other designers and other prospective companies who do the same thing that you do?
Well, it's got a bit of an interesting story how we came about doing this. We were alerted to the possibility that the country may need something like this, or that medics would need something like this, by a doctor called Etienne Meyburg. He's actually an oncologist, so really nothing much to do, but he realized this is what we're going to need. We spent about 2.5 months developing this with him and a pulmonologist, Johan Teron. And basically, we were trying to put together something that could be made for around 5,000 to 6,000 Rand. But for that, we needed some serious investment. We needed a couple of million to invest, to put this into the market.
Yes. Their response to your approach, I mean, obviously you're showing them something new and you're offering something that sells in a range of about, as you mentioned, about 6,000 or 7,000 Rand, as opposed to importing something internationally that could land a dentist, doctor, frontline worker, whoever, about maybe 30,000 Rand potentially. What was the response from investors taking on your pitch? I mean, obviously you're putting something forward.
That was unfortunately the problem. I thought that the doctors and I thought that the large hospital groups would, for instance, jump at the chance. But unfortunately, their attitude was I'm trying to say this nicely on camera, but they weren't forthcoming. They were saying they're already spending a lot on the N95 mask. Basically, it was a case of, well, the doctors should look after themselves. That was the long and short of it, as I understand it. So that is why we then resorted to 3D printing it, because with 3D print, you don't need millions of investment into tooling. And the other thing, of course, the big issue was at the time, this, when we were ready with this in about June last year. If you go to tooling, then it takes 2 to 3 months to create tools for injection molding, and we needed the things right away. So with 3D printing, we could do that.
Now, I was listening to the Money Show, and I think it was Dr. Etienne Mayberg, who mentioned that on Facebook, I think a week after we went in the first lockdown, where he said that something like this would be needed very, very soon. What's the response been like from healthcare professionals, private, public sector, government, ministers? What's their response been, obviously, in this regard?
I have to say it's mixed. It's a mixed bag. From the doctors, the healthcare professionals, they absolutely love it. I've got doctors that have bought one, that have bought another one for a colleague. That say, Mark, you and your company are an absolute lifesaver. This thing has kept me safe. So the response from those kind of people has been extremely positive. People, particularly the response in terms of the comfort, the lightweight, the ease of use, and of course the safety. You ask about government, zero. There's been no response. I've tried a few things, but it's almost like.
In terms of efficacy for protection, I mean, you mentioned the two filters filtrate about 99% of particles, obviously larger than 0.1 of a micron. Why I quote this is it's obviously protecting the frontline healthcare workers. Surely there should be a greater demand for this. Do you think that due to the massive, marketing and mass marketing or instructions from government to say wear your masks, this is a contributing factor to hindering a bit of this adaptation of your product or products similar to yours, the PAPRs?
Yeah, I don't know. It's difficult to say exactly why that is. Like I say, everyone who's seen it, typically the sales that we've had has been word of mouth. One doctor buys it, his colleague sees it, says, "Wow, that's fantastic! I don't need to wear the N95 mask, and my patients can't even hear me, and my colleague can't hear me." And we were talking about the protection factor or efficacy. A N95 mask typically has a protection factor of 10. This is it's the they call it APF. I'm struggling to think what. Yeah, it's assigned protection factor, and a PAPR. Depending on what type of pepper it is, it typically has a assigned protection factor of 50, and it goes all the way up to, I think, 1,000. So a protection, a pepper like this, you're talking about a protection factor of a few times that of an N95 mask.
And my producer's just here, and I'm looking at him, and I'm thinking, you know what? I actually want to get one of these, and I want to do a show with it. I wonder how am I going to look and sound like. Because I'm into heavy gaming, so you see these in the movies and hazmats and anthraxes and no-go zones, etc. But that's on a lighter note. Mark, before we obviously conclude, obviously selling prices, just so we clear, you said it's about 6,000 to 7,000 rands per unit.
These cost 6,870 rand excluding VAT.
Okay.
And we're really not getting rich off that. I can tell you that. The imported units, we're talking anywhere between 30 and 50,000 rand. So yeah.
And obviously, we're obviously going to be using this now, obviously real time. I mean, we obviously in a industrial age, etc. And this allows for smooth transitions. To basically provide more comprehensive. I'd say vendor source. For people who are interested, where can they find this product? Do you have agents or stores that have this, or is it only online? How can people contact you and get your product? Those who are interested.
Yes, well, we've got some agents in Namibia, but in South Africa, we're doing all the sales directly ourselves.
Okay.
So I would say the best would be is to write an email to me.
Can you give us your email address there?
All right, it's Mark with a C, MARC, at ideso.co.za. Or otherwise, they can find us on the web as well, www.ideso.co.za.
Or you can look at the Facebook page as well and look at the top stores.
We're on Facebook as well, of course.
Yes. Great stuff, man. Mr. Mark Rouville, the design director at IDESO. Thank you so much for your time tonight. Congratulations to you and your team on your achievement of obviously taking the award, at the International Design Awards in the United States. And all the best in your future endeavors in, making a change. It's all about innovation. And during this pandemic year, you've shown that obviously this is something that can add benefit and protect people, obviously during these unforeseen and uncertain times that we do find ourselves in. Mr. Mark, thank you for your time. Have an awesome evening.
So for us, thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
It's only a pleasure. Take care, Mark. Cheers. Bye-bye. That was Mark Rouville, design director at IDESO. So they've got this device that they've manufactured. And they won an award for a 3D print at the International Design Awards in the US. Yes. And they've represented South Africa, flying the flag. Hi, Hamburger, Pezulu. There we go. Hats off to Mark and his team at IDESO in the Cape for making this PAPR, the power a purifying respirator, and you are showing us the whole demonstration. So Lilo, I actually want one of those, and I want to actually do like a show maybe next week. I might be welcome to Shalom Media's Friday Night Live. And I want to try it out. But anyway, it's really does look like it provides a lot of protection. Is lightweight, as Mark mentioned, and it sells for around 6,800 rands. If you are interested, go onto the website ideso.co.za or contact Mark at ideso.co.za. That brings us now to 9 p.m. on the dot. Wow. Look at the time, man. Wow. Sadek, my man, holding it down. Salilo and the rest of the team who makes the show possible. I'm just the glue that holds it all together. Anyway, to you listeners, we thank you. We see you. We appreciate your comments, your feedback, and obviously your interactions with us. We're hoping you love the show as much as we do. With love, we depart and wish you well. Assalamu alaikum. Until next week. Well, Zakir will be here next week. I'll be here the week after. So, Anyway, adios. And at Glaubona, 2 weeks' time. Take care. Assalamu alaikum. Have a good evening and be safe wherever you are.